Hello, everyone. Good evening. Um, I guess around the world, so maybe it's a good morning for some of you. So feel free to join. Today's webinar will be in English, so no need for translation. You can write in the chat where you are from. Um, we'll wait another minute for people to join, and then we will start. Thank you, everyone, for joining and for your blessing on the chat. Um, We'll be starting in a minute, just letting people get in. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today in this third episode of this film series conducted by the American Friends of Parent Circle Families Forum. My name is Ayelet Harael, and I'm the Israeli co-CEO of the Parent Circle Families Forum. I'm also a bereaved sister. My brother was killed in the First Lebanon War, and I've been a member of the forum since 2009. We're gathered today after watching the powerful documentary called Children No More, directed by Hila Medalia, and I want to take this opportunity to thank Albi for this joint film series. Today, this is the last meeting on this series. The film tells the story of the silent protest that emerged in Israel during the war in Gaza. Protesters stood holding photographs of children killed in Gaza, each with a face and a name. There were no slogans, no speeches, just a silent, heartbreaking presence that forced people to confront the human cost of the war. This silent vigil took place every Saturday just before the protests calling for the release of the hostages and end to the war. I passed by this protest many times and joined it on several occasions. Standing there was almost unbearable. The October 7th devastating attack carried out by Hamas inflicted profound trauma and fear on the Israeli society. The war that followed brought immense destruction and suffering to Gaza. Tens of thousands of Palestinians have been killed by the Israeli military, including more than 20,000 children, around 1,000 of them under the age of 1. It will take us years before we can fully grasp the scale of what Palestinians in Gaza have endured. The protest challenged Israeli society to look directly at the faces of the children, not as number, but as human beings with names, family, and life cut short. At the Parent Circle Families Forum, we grieve every human life lost to this conflict, Palestinian and Israelis. Recognizing the humanity of the other is the foundation of our work. We believe this is the first step toward change. Revenge and hatred only lead to more violence and more loss. As bereaved Israelis and Palestinians, we choose dialogue over revenge and recognition over denial. Tonight, we will hear three voices, each offering a different perspective on what it means to bear witness, to recognize the humanity of all victims, and to work for a better future. Now, before we move to our guests, I want to take a short moment of silence for the memory of all children that lost their life in the war. Thank you, everyone. So tonight we are hosting three special guests. I want to thank you for joining. We have with us Adi Argov, Tova Buxbaum, and Rami Aman. Tova and Adi are speaking from Israel, and Rami is currently in Cairo, right? I would like you, first of all, to introduce yourself, each one of you, to tell us a little bit about who you are and what do you do. So, Adi, can you be the first one?
I'm a mother, grandmother, a partner, a caring person, a clinical psychologist specialized in trauma, activist. 120% of me is an activist, human rights activist, and also a facilitator for movement in medicine with movement.
Thank you, Adi. Rami?
My name is Rami Aman. I'm a Palestinian from Gaza. And yes, currently I lived in Cairo. I moved from Gaza in 2021. I'm a founder founder of a group in Gaza called the Gaza Youth Committee, and a board chairman for an NGO called the Palestinian Commission for Youth, Culture, and Community Development.
Okay, thank you. Your internet connection is a little slow, so I don't know if something can be done about that. Okay. Tova?
Hi, good evening to everyone, or good afternoon. I am a member of the Israeli Palestinian Bereaved Family Forum since 2006. My brother, Lieutenant Chaim Geiger, was killed during his service in the army. And my cousin, Yosef Kurt Gutfreund, was one of the 11 athletics who were kidnapped and murdered during the Munich Olympic in 2072. I'm also a clinical psychologist, and I'm also an activist. And these both identities are very important to me, and I try all the years to combine between them. And we're initiating all kinds of initiation and projects in order to raise the awareness of the Israeli society and especially the mental health society about the enormous prices that both society are paying for the ongoing conflict and the prices that the occupy and the occupier are raising for it. I'm a mother and a grandmother, and all the years, although the years I am active, I'm seeing all the time my children and my grandchildren in front of me. And in the bottom of my heart, I know that as long as all the children between the sea and the river, Jordan River, will not have safe and fair life, the life of my dear ones, my beloved children and grandchildren will not be safe either. Thank you.
Thank you, Tova. So, Adi, we will start with you.
I try.
Yes. So the silent vigil that we saw on the film, Children No More, actually grew out of your social media documentation project called Forcibly Involved. Could you tell us how this project began? What was the original idea? And whose stories did you choose to document?
Well, it's more extended than the social media. It's actually a website these days. But it started with me documenting the everyday happening in the West Bank, and since October 7, also in Gaza. And following the news on the media and the Palestinian media, I met the pictures of the children while they were alive, their eyes, their smiles, and they were gone. And I decided to start documenting and telling everybody that children are forcibly involved in that I don't know what the word, the exact word for that these days. It's much more than a word. But so it's children from Israel, from the West Bank, from Gaza, from Lebanon, from Iran. I started documenting the names since January 2024 and on. The first child that moved my heart was Hind Rajab story. I remember following her story, and I decided that the Israelis should know what are the consequences of that, whatever it is in Gaza.
Yeah, last week webinar was about her story.
Yeah. So, and also, you know, through the time, there are more and more children that are, I dream about. I remember their names. I keep telling their story. But the background story that I have, goes way, way back. I grew in a family where my, he, in a way, was my adopting grandfather, the brother of my grandmother, and he lost his 2 years old daughter in the World War II. And he never told me her name. And for me, it was a mission to find the names of those that paid with their lives. And so that's why it's forcibly involved. And it's the most important is that their names, they had life, they had families. That's the story in a nutshell.
And what kind of reaction did you receive to your project?
What
Um,
kind of
reaction.
reactions?
What like is it
Mixed
mainly Israelis
reactions.
or all over the world? Also, do you have international reactions or the
Well,
Palestinian reaction?
international was very supportive from the beginning. People wanted to know more and more. But in Israel, well, in social media, it's a social media. Most of it was very, very aggressive and lots of hate. Why don't you speak about the Israeli kids? Well, I spoke about the Israeli kids. I spoke about everyone, but 20,000, 22,000 children are much more than. So they get more plays. But in the in the silent protest with the pictures, we got mixed reactions. Depends. When we were standing in silence near the protest against the war, and most of the people that marched there were very re emotionally reactive in a good way, like they were in shock. There were, you could, standing in silence, you could really track the faces and emotional reaction, how they approach the picture, looking at the children, and then getting and understanding and seeing the magnitude of it. When we got out of Tel Aviv to other places, we got more aggressive reactions, but well, there was a diversity of reaction, not as seen in the document. In the document, they showed the most aggressive one, but reactions were diverse. Yet I felt that there was more and more recognition of what is going on, and that's why I kept doing it.
You're still continuing to do that?
The daily file following and every day documenting the names of the children every day for the last 5 years.
Wow. And you do it by yourself? Like you devote, this is what, how do you get the information?
Every day I get into media, Palestinian media, international media. Well, the Israeli media is very biased, but I follow, I know already who can I trust and who can I can't. And I upload every day, West Bank, Iran, Lebanon, Gaza, and the children part of it.
It's amazing, Adi. I wanted you mentioned the silence, right? Was an important theme in this protest, being silent. What did it feel like, and why was it so important to be not to say anything?
Well, the ritual usually when we want to honor the dead, it's being in silent. So that was some kind of very natural way to honor the dead. But it goes both ways, because when protests are usually very noisy and all the shouts, Tova, you're smiling, that there is so much noise there. And us standing in silence, the contrast, do something for those that watched, those that witnessed the pictures, and for those that stood with the pictures. Because personally, for me, standing for about 90 minutes with a picture of a child that I learned about, dedicated my heart to, for the next 20 minutes, standing there and watching people, it gave me time to connect, to track people, to be more attuned to what is going on. And actually, in the course of time, the noisy protests, when it passed our lines of pictures, they stopped their drumming, they stopped their talking, and they passed in complete silence the whole time. And then they moved on and they started shouting. So the silence had some kind of it was louder than the noises. That's what I felt.
Okay. Thank you, Adi. We'll do another round of last question. And so now I want to move to Tova. So, Tova, you told me that even before the organized silent vigils, you took a picture to the demonstrations, and then later you became active participant in this silent vigil in Haifa. What was it like for you to take part in these protests, and what response did you get? What was your experience?
Okay. Yes, I started it before I even knew about the vigil in Tel Aviv. I just printed from Haaretz, which is the only newspaper in Israel that gives some information, and I just printed picture of, I think there were like 20 pictures of children. And actually, I stood with like a sign. In one side, it was the pictures of the children. On the other side, the pictures of Israeli hostages in Gaza. And I just write in one side, I don't remember the numbers at that time, but let's see, it's about maybe 10,000 children. How much more will die? And on the side of the Israeli hostages, I wrote, they are still alive. How long will they still be alive? Something like that. And I just switched the sides. And it was very interesting to see the reactions of the people, because when they saw, at that time, no one showed pictures of the children who were killed in Gaza. And when they saw the picture of the hostages, they said, oh, yes. And when I switched to the side of the children, they were shocked, most of them. Some of them, just when they saw the picture of the children, they just has such a glaze. I don't know how to say it in English now. They just didn't look, they looked through me. But then we started to be aligned. In Haifa, everything is smaller and quieter than in Tel Aviv, even the demonstrations. But there were demonstrations, and for me, standing with the line of the vigils and the pictures that Adi brought to us, in her amazing project she's doing, it was like an encore for me. It is blue and white flags and shoutings and speakers and we just stood there. And people passed by and looked and yawned, and most of them. But I remember one of them. She just went from one picture to other and said, she will be a terrorist. He will be a terrorist. He will be on the picture of the dead children. So the demonization of the Palestinians in their life and even in their death, it was shocking. Even these dead children still threaten her. I cannot forget her. But most of the people in Haifa and more of and the line became longer and longer. From week to week, more and more joined us. And as I said, for me, it was the only way I can join the demonstration. Otherwise, I couldn't. But holding this picture every week, it was like an anchor that give meaning to me. Okay?
So following what you just explained to us, since you are a psychologist, I mean also Adi, but so I'm turning to you and what do you think are the psychological barriers that makes it so difficult for people, on both sides, to acknowledge the suffering of the other? Still until today, of course.
Yes.
And maybe you can also relate, we know the asymmetrical situation between the Israelis and Palestinians, but still the barriers are like in the same, and not aligned with the asymmetrical.
Yes. Well, it's a used question because we always believe that if people will just know, they will think otherwise or will behave other, and it doesn't happen because the power of denying is huge. People deny facts that they cannot, their mental and emotional apparatus cannot stand. Okay? They just throw it away from themselves. And even after in Israel, the facts were known, but people don't want to know them. And if they know, they just blame the Hamas for everything. Okay? They cannot take responsibility on themselves. They cannot, it threatens their moral self-esteem, and they cannot stand the idea that they or their nation is committing such brutal, violent in both sides. Yes, but you're right. There is not symmetry. There is not symmetry. We Israel, we have more power for many, many years. We have more power, and we don't use the power in the right way because we still behave like victims. We still have the self-esteem of victims and feel we have all the right to protect ourselves, but this protection just brings more and more violence and disaster to all the area. So I think people and nation cannot be connected with their vulnerability and their brutal sides. So they deny both of them. And at the 7th of October, Israel really was, it was a blow to our omnipotence and we just our weak side. Okay, I forgot the word, sorry.
Thank you, I'll help you.
נחשפנו בחולשתנו.
Exposed. Yeah, we were
Exposed.
exposed.
Our
Yeah.
weakness was exposed. Sorry for that. And but toxic leadership promise that by revenge we'll get our power back, and it never works. It never works. Revenge and violence and brutal violence as we inflict on Gaza never brings power back. It just brings more and more suffering. And so really people cannot grasp it and cannot accept it in their self-esteem. So they deny it. It's not true. Or they say the other side is to be blamed about all. We are the good side, the other one is the evil.
Yeah.
And every side sees the other side as monsters, but they are not monsters. We are all humankind with our vulnerable side, with our brutal side. And
Tova, you're
Now-
also the founder of the Silence is a Crime initiative led by Mental Health.
yes,
That was also, can you also share a little about that and leave some time also for my last question?
Adi, it is with me. Adi, you want to talk about silence is a crime? I talked a lot. If you want.
Well, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the midst of the
Okay, I was prepared to talk about it.
frustrating silence of the professional unions, we decided, few of us, to just stand up and call enough silence. Enough with the silence. Speak up, stand, remember your ethics, remember your moral, remember the meaning of your profession of psychologist, the mental health profession. So we decided the name is Silence is a Crime. We were a few hundred people since then, and we are continuing with our work, being like the wild child in the neighborhood. Yeah.
Yes, we wish to raise the awareness of our colleagues and to raise up the voices against the crimes, the war crimes we are committing in Gaza and in the West Bank and in Iran. And okay, yes, and we are together with it. Yes.
We're basically a call, a standing, and people can relate to that and quote it and act upon it.
I think now it's interesting, after you talked about the silence in the vigil, we are saying, no, there are silence that are crimes.
Yeah.
To be a mental health professional and not to raise your voice against atrocities is a crime. We have to raise our voice. Yes.
Tova, my last question to you is, how has being a part of the parent circle shaped the way you have experienced this war, and mainly your ability to hold both Israeli and Palestinian grief at the same time? And we know that this is what we have been doing in the past 3 years, also by having, I think, 160, unfortunately, new members in our organization.
Yes.
From both sides.
Yes, we used to say we are the only organization in the world that don't want to grow, but we don't want to grow. Yes, thank you. But unfortunately, yes, many joined us in Israel and in Palestine. Well, the forum is for me a place of belonging, of identity. And during the war, it was so important for me that I have this place, because usually all around Israel, people are in some very crazy way for this war, and they don't see the Palestinian, they don't see the suffering. And knowing that I have this place that I can talk about what I feel and how I see the things, even in silence is a crime, because another place where I can just speak freely about how I see things. It's so important. You know, I remember in our last women meetings, there was one of our friends who said for her to be in here in this place, it's this friend of us, both her parents were murdered in the 7th of October. And she said being here is like the embrace of her parents, the embrace she will never feel again. But here in this circle of bereaved women that feel like her, it's like feeling hugged by her parents. And I think she described the essence how I feel in the forum. Like we, like we could. Um, stand for our friend in the West Bank that the military burst into her house 2 months ago. You know and just frightened her and her children and destroyed the house and ruined the furnitures and ruined even the children's toys. And to to be with her and to encourage her, this is something very dear to me because most of the people they don't know people in the West Bank that are peace activists. For them, everyone is a terrorist. And when I can tell them that I have friends in the West Bank, even I had friends in Gaza that are peace activists, it's something so precious for me to bring to discussion in Israel. So, as I saw, it's a place of belonging and identity for me. And in these terrible days, it's more important than ever, saying that we are not equivalent. There is not symmetry. We have to mention it again and again. There is not symmetry between us. The circumstances of our life are so different. Though we suffer from what is going on here and from the war, but we cannot compare it to what they suffer, and more since the 7th of October from the settlers and the violent, really terrorist attack, and with the covering of the military and the Israeli authorities. They let it go on.
Yes, these are very difficult times.
Yes, yes.
So I want to turn now into speaking to you, Rami. So thank you for making the effort. I want to say that we were planning to have here our friend Wood from Gaza, but it turned out that she couldn't join. So thank you, Rami, for accepting our short invitation. As you said, you spent many years working with youth and also promoting dialogue between Palestinian and Israeli, nonviolence, and a shared future. And I know that this commitment also caused you a personal cost. Could you tell us about your journey and what motivates your work?
First of all, I hope that you are hearing me well. Um, and thank you so much for this invitation. You can hear me well.
It sometimes they get
The
disconnected, but it's
first,
okay.
okay, the first action for me was after the first war between Hamas and Israel in 2009. I was a producer for Russia Today, working with many foreign satellite channels covering the city war. A lot of blogs are on me for the first time. We are talking about hundreds of dead bodies, most of them independent. So I decided after the war to create an independent Palestinian movement because as a Palestinian from Gaza, we miss this kind of movement who represent the independent voices. We have no media, no one is talking about us. Now the Israeli community, I'm talking here about 2009. Now the Israeli community think that we are Hamas, support the rockets, and Hamas will not make any kind of reconciliation with Fatah. We need one Palestinian government. And Hamas celebrated after the killing of 1,400 Palestinians. So inside myself, I said that maybe I will be the next victim, and Hamas will celebrate after the killing of 100,000 Palestinians. So we started a movement called Gaza Youth Committee to make like an alliance for many generations in Gaza, not Fatah and not Hamas, but they have no opportunities to learn or to join. It's very hard to live in Gaza and save your values and save your learning if you have no family. But you will find a lot of Gazans, women and boys, trying most of time for any change. Maybe 10 years ago, we were talking about the change for all of Gaza, but now everyone in Gaza or from Gaza looking for like a change for him or herself only because there is no power, there is no energy, there is nothing to do. And after that, in 2014, we started an initiative called the Skype with Your Enemy because in Gaza I started to search how I can join an organization working with the Israelis because through the internet I was reading through the history from Peace Now till the beginning of 2010 about the Israeli efforts in Lebanon and in West Bank with the Palestinians, and I realized that they need partners. And in Gaza, it's very easy to understand that most Palestinians they prefer their treatments in Israel. They prefer to work in Israel. They prefer to make business with the Israelis. But they are not talking about that. The media only controlled by Hamas and Fatah, and there is a problem. So also I decided to share these stories through the Skype in that time before Zoom. And we started like people to people initiatives. I didn't start by a job or a project, it was by myself. And year after year, we found a lot of Israeli and Palestinian participants. We continued to working under the ground, away from the media, only Skype, face to face. My first condition, no one is here to blame anyone, no one is here to take or give the responsibility for the other. We're here for knowing each other, we're here to find how we can work with each other. We went for many NGOs, Europe, Americans, they were afraid of Hamas, but for me, afraid of Hamas and working under the ground with Hamas or over the ground with Hamas. For me, it was like wasting the money. And then when Netanyahu started to send millions in that time to Qatar, and I was looking for only $100 or $200 to pay the transportation for the youth who came to me to join Zoom meetings with the Israelis, I was shaking like a crazy. But these things give to me more proof that Hamas and Netanyahu feeding each other, and anyone will be the next victim. We need to create a movement inside Gaza. We need to give the Palestinians the rights to elect. We started in 2018 to make public initiatives with the Israelis. We started by a bike ride marathon. and then we launched 150 doves to the Israeli community, like messages, uh, through the March of Return protests. And after that, Corona, we were talking with hundreds of the Israelis about how we can save each other from Corona. We were not talking about Hamas or tunnel or anything like else. But after that meeting, Hamas arrested me for 6 months and a half. And then after my release, I continued because inside the jail or outside the jail. My answer is if you want to arrest me, bring Abu Mazen, Hussein al-Sheikh, Ahmad Yassin, Sinwar, Hania, all of these first because they spoke with the Israelis. And then you can like put me here or say that I'm a normalizer. It was hard like to say no for Hamas, but at the same time, these efforts gave like a label for me to let the community in Gaza trust that Rami has a one face. He is not playing with Hamas. He's not playing with Fatah. So many youth started to join my movement, and through my movement, I was like build bridges with the Israelis, American, Europeans to let the people know each other, build arts projects, projects in sports, projects in writing, painting, doing the galleries together. Uh, Till that Black Day on October 7th. From that morning, my like my hope was how just to save one connection between one Israeli and one Palestinian, so we can because before years ago, 10 years ago, I was believe how Hamas is thinking, and I know what is Netanyahu need. Hamas is not the Russian army, and Netanyahu is not all the Israelis. Sorry for this long message, but I just want to add something. I didn't give like a greeting for Adi and one of her followers, and I'm so happy that I'm here near her. She is a cousin more than the cousin, and behalf of me and behalf of many cousins following you on Facebook, we say thank you not only for you, for all Israeli women and all Israeli men reads a photo for a Palestinian kid and showed us that your pain is my pain and this is the human. Because of that, I was crazy when I was like following the comments and thinking how I can do something. Tell the Israelis who say to the other Israelis, go to Gaza and all of these things because I received words like this from the Palestinian community when Hamas starts any campaign against me that I'm a normalizer, I'm a Zionist. So I will find, of course, threats, but of course I will find positive things. So I'm focusing here again and again and again and again. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I'm your partner. From that time when I was watching you and all of the Israelis, I was thinking with the guys in Gaza how we can show or raise or do anything till the Israelis. Also, we are against the killing of the Israeli kids who killed in October 7th by Hamas. It's very hard to do that in Gaza, I know, but we made it. We made it. We made it, and we made a trend in Israel. All of the Israeli community was talking about we live together, we die together. And
Yes,
in that day, I
yes,
saw
Rami,
that
we have a
you,
picture. We have a picture of right. This is what I was my next question to you was
yeah,
about.
here is Allah. Here is Allah and Muhammad.
Yeah.
And we have Faik also. Those guys represent thousands of people, and they are not collaborators. We are not doing that for money. You will not find any kind of GoFundMe page for me or for Allah or for any member of the closest member of mine. We are not
You
doing
have
that for
another picture,
ourselves.
I think, of your friends in. Yeah.
We have, yeah, here is Faik. Yeah, I was happy. Faik is in Dar el Bala. And now Also, we continue our work with the kids because we were doing that before October 7th. The values. We were connect the Israeli and the Palestinian kids before October 7th without any fund from Netanyahu. Netanyahu at that time was send the money to Hamas. If the Netanyahu just sent half the millions of these millions for any other movement in Gaza, of course we can create other ideology. So sorry for this very long message, but I just want to share for Eddie and all the Israelis that you are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. Thank you so much.
So, Rami, I wanted to ask you, what was the reaction that you heard in Gaza for these vigils? Did people in Gaza know about this protest in Israel with the pictures? Do they hear? I mean, what was their reactions?
Yes, we found 4 or 5 Palestinian profiles. Here we are talking about influencers, but they are relating to the Halan and left parties. Left parties in Gaza, NGOs. Those currents, not against the idea itself, against Rami Aman and his work. And they think by this kind of reputation, by sharing bad words, in that time they said or they wrote Palestinians raise Israeli photos without Palestinian photos. But a lot of Palestinian profiles shared that, yes, we need to do that. We need to share these messages, this word for Rami. So, and the second hand, I know that it's very dangerous for complex-minded in Gaza who hold the guns in Gaza Strip, but at the same time, I have a group and I have my tactic, and we are doing that for years. How like to play with the securities, whatever it's in the war or outside the war, because inside Hamas, inside Islamic Jihad, inside Daesh, inside normal people in Gaza, you can find people attract to your ideas, but there is nothing, or I have no power, or we need more things to attract more people. But we will continue. So people in Gaza support this message. And if I will not feel that, you will not find me in this meeting. I have a family, my sister in Gaza, my aunt in Gaza, my friends in Gaza. I will not do any action. Let them feel that I am a bad person or let them feel shame on me. No, my first support comes from my mother. My sister in Gaza, my friends, they're asking me to continue my work with the Israelis and tell them that we are humans. Tell them that we need to create new leaders. We need like a sustainable time. Give us the opportunity to build the community, build one school, build one theater. But before the war, every 2 or 5 years war, there is Hamas. There is nothing. There is nothing to do. It's Hamas. The alternative thing, Daesh or gangs, local gangs, smugglers. How come? How come? For me, if I'm in Gaza now, I will not protest against Hamas. And behind or beside me, the Israeli tank. I will protest against the Israeli tank, and then I will continue my protesting against Hamas. I don't need this help from the Israeli tank, and I don't need the Israeli tank to build Gaza for me, and then like no, and so it's very complicated. But I promise me you, and I promise Eddie, and I promise all the Israelis who raised the photos for the Palestinians that they are not alone. And if we have the chance in Gaza, maybe one day, maybe one day, I promise you, one day you will find tens of dozens raised like the photos not only for the Israeli kids, for all the Israelis. I don't care if they were soldiers or not soldiers. I just want this war to end. This war must end. Stop create enemies.
Rami, I just want to take a short last question, and then we'll go for some questions from the audience. So just shortly, if you can, like, we have here people from all over the world. So what does the international community can do now to help people in Gaza? What action can they take?
The first action, first of all, please, they need to understand and believe that we have Israelis and Palestinians in Gaza working together, believing that they can live together. They need to reflect this picture, first of all. They need to reflect a picture, represent Israeli and Palestinian inside Europe. We don't need to find a pro-Israeli and a pro-Palestinian. The first action is to manage that, bring voices, bring the real voices and represent the real voices in the land. The second question that there is a chance, but you need to continue here. We are talking Europe countries. I don't want any country support Palestine only and Israel only. People different than the government. People different than the government. Maybe Spain or Netherlands or Germany, the country, they have different opinion, but in the end, the conflict still working. We need country from Europe, like what happened in Oslo. Peace started from Europe. Then America came. We can, like, advocate Spain to make that happen. They bring Israeli and Palestinians to start negotiation now and create a political initiative and with people, who knows, but we need every time to show that Israeli and Palestinian together can build their communities, can decide if they want to live in one state, two states, three states. This is the action. We don't need money. We don't need money.
Eh,
We need actions.
yeah. So there was a question from please, if you have a question, you can write in the Q&A box. So there was one question here. Maybe Adi, you want to answer about this? Are the public vigils continuing somewhere now, occasionally or regularly?
Here in Israel, no, because they turned into other activism. But in London, there is every Sunday they stand and with the vision they created a community. Everywhere that the visuals were taken, they created community of people. So it continues internationally, but not in Tel Aviv anymore.
Okay, thank you. Another question, maybe Tova, you would want to answer. What is the key to having people open up to recognizing the humanity of the other? We call it in PCFF the emotional breakthrough, right? That we are
Mhm.
to how to get them past your resistance, past their resistance, I should say.
Oh, it's
Well,
such a difficult question. We deal with it all the years, you know, in all my activity groups, initiations. I am a conductor of dialogue groups between Israelis and Palestinians across the border, inside Israel. Uh, Usually facts don't help, though we always bring facts. Um, Maybe I still believe that to see the humanity, to see the faces, what Adi is doing, I don't want to give up the hope that it really touches people's heart. Though, as you can hear in my voice, the reality shows that it really doesn't work in mass, in some huge way, but it can bring people from side to side. It can There is not a simple answer to this question, really
I,
not.
I, I can help you with the answer, I think, Tova, is that we know that, first of all, bringing people together, right? Like now we're meeting Rami, Israelis, this always breaks down barriers. People are so afraid of the other side and they have no chance to meet the other side. They have no way. So we know this is something that really moves on. And also, I think acknowledgement, right? By acknowledging the other side pain, it opens. So if someone acknowledge my pain, I'm much more open heart to hear their pain. So I think this is what we do in the parent circle, in this, as you said, in the dialogue meeting. But I agree that now it's difficult times.
Thank you, Ayelet, for bringing energy, because I feel that my answer was a little depressing. It's the other side. Thank you, Ayelet.
Okay. I don't do the last question unless I missed something
May
in
I
the
add to
Q&A.
Tova? May I add to
Yeah,
what Tova
sure.
already says about, I think the mission and maybe what the word can do. What is happening is the outcome of fear is dehumanization, and that's what we need to fight. We have to bring humanity into dehumanization, and that's the only tool that we can do at the moment. The human tool, like we people, each one of us, reminding that there are human beings everywhere. That's what we can do at the moment.
Yes. And I want to add to what Rami said before. Don't be, and we are saying it all the time in the PSFF, don't be pro-Palestine, don't be pro-Israel, be pro-humanity.
Amen.
And
Yes.
peace.
And
Rami, there was a question to you. First of all, did you lose family members during the war? How is your family and community? And also, what gives you hope to continue the work you are doing, knowing that like both sides are, as you said, the tank and the Hamas both are.
Yeah, but the hope is you, Eddie, Toba, the people who joined this webinar because they have all options to live in any other style in this life, and they're still working to share our voices, to share our rights, and this is great. For the first question, no, by the war, no, most of them they were friends. But my father, before the war, he traveled just 1 week before the war to Algeria, just for 1 month. And after the war, Rafah closed, and he started to watch the TV. His daughter, my sister, and he's building 4 floors. And when the Israeli army came to our neighborhood, we are living in Gaza City, a Ramal area, and they targeted our building, still standing up, but burned my office, targeted the building. The Israeli soldiers, they were playing and writing bad words on the wall. So for me and my father and my mother, after those videos, I think my father went like to think very bad, and he was asking about me when we will go together. And then I received the call from my brother about my father. But as I told you, he was supporting me when I was in God, continue my work. And I was thinking from 2009 that anyone can be the next victim, and starting by me. And I told you, I started this career after the first war. For me, that war was a mini war. For 2023, I understand Hamas very well and Fatah and all of these parties. And my main goal is to create a Palestinian party, a Palestinian movement. I was thinking in 2009. Now I built a lot of things. I'm here because it took a lot to be here, and after watching and listening to you and watching the movie, and there is a responsibility, and I believe in that in Gaza through my private discussion. Most of time, I say that we need to start by ourselves. We need to take our responsibility, not to wait the Israelis or the Qataris or the Egyptians.
Yes. Tova and Adi, in really few words, what gives you hope? Or maybe
Activism.
Tova, activism.
Activism, like
Yes.
my hope is an active hope. It's not waiting for external outcome to happen. It's something that I do every day to make things better. So that's what brings me hope, usually.
Yes. I joined Adi and the communities we created, like the Bereaved Families Forum and Our Silence is a Crime and Psychoactive. I really have communities of people that work for peace and reconciliation and for human rights and seeing the side of the other, and this gives me hope. This gives me hope. And my children, grandchildren, of course.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you so much, everyone, Rami and Tova and Adi. This was very powerful to hear you. I do want to say to the audience that on the July 30th, which is pretty soon, we are having a webinar from our summer camp. We are taking 41 Palestinian Israelis, teenagers to Greece to a summer camp, and we will be doing a webinar just from that with our managers and the facilitator and the kids participating. So please register to that and join that as well. So thank you, everyone. Let's
Thank
hope
you.
for better times.
Thank
And
you.
thank you, Ram, for joining, and Adi and Tova, and all of you. And peace to all of us.
Thank
Inshallah.
you. Thank you.
Thank
Inshallah.
you.
Salam. Peace.